Welcome back to our wisdom workshop. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Purvi.
Good to see you again. And
Yes.
Today we are going to talk about the leadership in the future. And I would like to start with a quote by Ronald Reagan. He said once, "The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He's the one that gets the people to do the greatest things." And the reason why we talk about leadership is that in the previous podcasts, we have talked a lot about connection, a lot about things that needs to be connected within. And now we are very interested to see how can we put that into the world. And especially if we look at the situation we are today with COVID and all the crises and parallelly so wonderful things that are happening, to see what kind of leadership of the future do we need to implement everything what we discussed about in the past in a way that people can go with that and have a kind of future.
So I'm thinking about these words that are hunting me since I'm talking to you, which is how we get there. Abundance, non-attachment, trust, courage. Maybe we can try to become more focused in order to support leaders to be more confident in the way they work and they act on behalf of their team, on behalf of their organization, on behalf of our planet Earth. Last time we had this talk about we are many, but whom do we identify with? And we talked about it is very, very important for ourselves to really understand who we are within ourselves. And if we really look up on life, abundance, an abundant life, we can only be able to experience once we are both fully known and fully loved. So if we allow ourselves to know ourselves fully, to really know who we are and to love ourselves fully, only then we can be known by others, and then we can be loved by others. And as such, we can also be followed by others as the leader. So this is number one, which I think is very important. The second thing is, if we really are so good with ourselves and understand who we are, then it is much easier for us to dare the step into the unknown. And I think this is what leaders of nowadays need to really think about. We are walking into the unknown. Life is not linear, life is complex. And in this VUCA world, how we call it, anything is possible to happen. So the stronger we are within ourselves, the more we love ourselves, the easier it gets. And as such, I always think about my favorite movie, which is Game of Thrones. And in Game of Thrones, I really love the whole philosophy behind it. But I don't know if you know it, in the end, in the very, very end of the last season, in the last series, there's a conversation between the family of the heroes. And Arya Stark, she is very courageous. She's very smart. And she says goodbye to her brother and her sister. And they ask her where she's going to go next. And she answers with another question, which says, what is west of Westeros? And for everybody who does not know Game of Thrones, in the west of Westeros, the maps are black. So nobody knows what is west of Westeros. So she asks, what is west of Westeros? And Jon, her brother, answers with, I don't know. And she replies with, no one knows. That's where all the maps stop. That's where I'm going. So, and this is what I think is what a leader needs. He needs to be courageous, to walk into the unknown. He needs to understand that there are many things that we do not know yet, that there are many things that we do already know, but that we have forgotten along the way, and that there are things that we know, but we sort of neglect them because we don't want to really know them. So Arya Stark is my leader of the future. And with this, I give my word to you.
Well, you said many wise words, and which I agree. But on the other hand, if you spoke about linear thinking, yeah, it should not come. Now we live in the Western world, in a world where people are born and are conditioned in a linear thinking, which really makes the difference. And I see that when we speak about leadership in my consulting area, in that business aspect where I deal with, that especially bringing together India and Germany, where India is definitely not a linear thinking country, that this does not comply with each other. And the question is, what I always try to do is to give, first of all, an understanding why the Indian way of thinking is the way it is. And if you break it down, very, very simply, where people just look at me and say, oh, you can't say that. I said, if I break it down, it's on one hand in the belief of rebirth, yeah, of reincarnation. So automatically, you think differently, which is given from birth, from in the upbringing. Of course, India is also changing, but it's still, if you look at the red line through those countries who believe in Hinduism and Buddhism and don't have this linear thinking, after death there is nothing. So I find it very challenging to bring those two mindsets together. This is exactly the point where I deal on a daily basis. And to say it is not linear, and then I'm called as to be maybe too esoteric again. And I said, this has nothing to do with that, because what you have to understand is that you are dealing on a daily basis with two different mindsets. And in order to understand the actions, why do we speak indirectly? Why do we consider that if something doesn't work in the instant moment, I want it to work, I can also postpone it to tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Yeah. And don't be too strict with oneself, because we are used to plan everything in the Western world. And we're bringing right now a wonderful picture into the whole picture by saying the map is actually black. And we always think that we can control everything. That is, I think, very much linked with the linear way of thinking, that, and the moment I cannot control anything, I'm lost. That's the way of people who think in a linear way. Those who don't do that, who are not brought up in this surrounding, they say, if I can't achieve something today, I will achieve it tomorrow, or maybe in my next life. And I think if we talk about leadership of the future, where globalization is there, and leaders lead people from different countries, parallelly, as a leader, to be in your center and say, okay, everything is fine. That's why I always say it's not that easy to do that if you don't have this upbringing. So the question also here comes back is how to support people to understand that everything that happens comes from the presence. And the other question is also why are people like Deepak Chopra or Eckhart Tolle and all these spiritual leaders so successful? Because there is something where the people are longing for and thinking very deep inside, saying there is something. Even we live in the Western world, but all these Eastern wisdoms, they have something which seems to be right, and we follow that. And to take this knowledge, which is already actually deep within, and you always need someone who guides you certain things. Very often you need, not always, but very often you need someone. And even looking at my history, I would say to let go is something which might be for many Western people not easy, and need maybe kind of instructions and support to get to I'm saying to get there, to experience it. That's it.
These are very nice remarks, and still I believe that in the Western world most of us already know that life is not linear. So I think this belief, this mindset is already overdue. So yes, we still maybe have this upbringing, but I think this mindset of the other side of the world is not too far away from ours. And the other idea that, you know, when you ask this question again, how to get there, sorry, this is going to keep us going today. When I do sometimes this vision work with people, and I do it also not only like you do in an organizational context. I also do it in family context, and when there are when there's a divorced couple, and we think about how can we have the best future for the whole family system, and we do these shared visioning processes. And in these shared visioning processes, I think it is possible to bring all these mindsets, all these perspectives there are together, because there's not only one side that believes in the linear way and one side that believes in the very complex non-linear way. There are, like, if there are 100 people in the room, there are 100 different perspectives and 100 different mindsets. So if I do these shared visioning processes, which basically are an anti-narrative, which we create a story before the story of the present when we act, which is a future story, and which speaks about the most beautiful of all futures. So we do this, we go into this shared visioning process, and then afterwards, everybody can identify themselves with the vision, with the notion of the vision. There is no goal as like in a frame, there's just a broader vision, and everybody finds themselves in it. So
I totally agree, because I also do vision workshops when we work with the organizations, and it is totally different from the daily work. And we really, for 1.5 days, we just go through the whole process. And I always ask, what shall derive through you? Yeah, through in big letters and you in small letters. And why are you part of this organization? Why are you engaging yourself in this and that aspect? Why are you part of that? So I'm totally with you. And these vision workshops are one of the best workshops. I enjoy them because the people are out of their minds and they are very much in their hearts. And that is the big difference of, I think, also leadership comes from the heart and not from the mind. Because through a leader, through big letters, leader in small letters, something new derives and supports through him, his team, employees, whoever, that through them something new can merge again. And on that hand, I agree. But the other question I have, I think I'm always the person who doubts everything, you know, because I know that these questions come back from the listeners and from the audience. So this question is there. Is there a need of a certain maturity that you can get, that you can do all these things?
it's interesting that this word maturity also is one of these which hunts us. Well, maturity. Let me try to explain it that way. The moment we have a vision, a broader vision, in which every team member finds a space, a place to be, then it doesn't matter how mature we are, because for all of us, this vision offers a place to be. And then we all are high-performing team members on behalf of the vision we have. And it doesn't matter how mature we are. A leader has the role to integrate everybody in whatever maturity level they are. It is about communication. It is about building a network. It's about collaboration. It's about creating a purpose on the way to a vision, which for some is infeasible and it's okay. And for others, it needs to have a clear picture and needs to even maybe look as if it is a goal. So this vision, which is going to be created in this vision workshop, again, looks from everyone different, you know. We all have the same vision, but still we all have different picture of how the vision in the end might be like. And those who are, let's say, rather more mature, have less expectations, and so they just start on doing the next steps with ease. And others start having expectations, so they start creating pressure on themselves. They have an idea on how it's going to look like. And in these means, the leader is the one to connect the dots and to say, okay, if you want it red, we can have it red. And for the other person, he says, well, don't worry if it's red or blue or green or yellow, just go ahead, and we will color it in the end. So, you know, I don't know how, if you so I think it's not about maturity, it's about communication, it's about collaboration, it's about alliances we build, and it's about finding those who think alike, but it doesn't matter how mature they are.
Mm-hmm. So I would also say that I think the leadership, what we are talking about, still has a different feeling or content than leadership which was in the past. For example, if we are raised in, for example, hierarchies, a person might be having a vision, but which is not including everyone. Now we are talking about a vision which is needed for the future that includes everyone.
And everything.
And everything, exactly. Includes the entire planet for survival, yeah? So I'm talking about maturity, and the reason because you know that I'm very much working with the integral, as you also do, with the integral map. And also to acknowledge the people. And if we talk about stages, I just wanted to emphasize, I'm not talking about better and less better. If I talk about, that's why I like the word maturity a little bit better. It doesn't mean that those people who are raised in hierarchies are not matured, but this is a different way of thinking of leadership. If we include everything and everyone, or we just include our collective. And having this transformation now, which is happening, to include everyone and everything, there needs to happen something inside me, inside the leader, to say, right, I have to integrate everything, because the structures which I have built up till now, we cannot survive. It cannot serve everyone and everything. That's what I want to say.
Now, okay, now I would like to interrupt because I've just watched the new movie from David Attenborough, and I thought it was awesome, especially because in the end he came back to this indigenous population where they live in such a way in which we are now discussing the leadership of the future needs to be, including all stakeholders, maturity, and so on and so on. They already are mature. Human being comes on earth already mature, knowing that everything we take, we need to give back. That the world can only thrive when we thrive and allow everybody else around us to thrive and everything else. So biodiversity is part of it. So leadership, which we have lived up until today in terms of, and we are here again in economic growth and filling up our desires, being competitive, and all these things are not any issue of the leadership of the future. The leadership of the future is the old indigenous way of living. So who is mature?
I think maturity means to include that and to see that everything was actually there, and come back to the roots, and to say that there is actually no new invention needed. Just get connected to yourself and take the examples of these indigenous tribes and people and say, we don't have to reinvent anything. And if you look what people are doing today, they're coming back to the roots. They are looking for guidance in the ancient wisdoms. Western or Eastern, doesn't matter. They are trying to get connected to themselves. And the moment in this project, for example, One World, No Hunger, where we do work with organic farmers organizations, and when I go to the fields and I say, what are we all running around and what are we doing and trying to implement on new high-tech things that's not needed because everything is there. And through this development, which has given us lots of new and wonderful things, but it has come to its limits in order to serve the whole world. And I'm totally with you. But it could be a kind of maturity to get to understand that we have to get back to the roots and include that and not point them out and say, they're not developed. And I have a problem with the word developed countries. I have a problem with the term economically weak. I said or social weak. Other way around. I say they're not social weak, many people, they are economically weak, but social, they are very, very strong. Sometimes much stronger than people who are economically strong. So it's also the what kind of words do we use? What kind of language do we use to describe things and people? And I think there is also a very big point that politics and economics have to change, that we declare the GDP, and from that you call a country as a developed country and non-developed country, which really makes me angry. And I say, I always say in the so-called developed world, we are struggling with burnout, though we have everything, yeah? And we are struggling with so many other things which other countries, indigenous tribes do not have, because they are with them, they're connected. So I think this maturity to come back to the roots and to say that this higher, faster, and more money cannot be a goal, and have a new vision that includes what is already there. That's where we try to close the cycle, to say it has started from somewhere, and exactly there we need to get connected.
Yes, as simple as it sounds, but being mature is simply being. Let's just be. Let's just be the story. Let's just own the actions we take. Let's just trust in the process. So I think maturity is no other word than just be.
True. Trust and just be. Yeah. That's right now what I'm doing, getting back into the trust.
Very nice.
That's it, isn't it?
Yes, I think so too.
Thank you very much, Julia. And
thanks,
I look forward to see you to our next chapter. And have a good day.
Yes, me too. You too. Bye.